I'm Tom Olney. Thanks for spending these few moments with me as we look into God's Word for encouragement. I serve as the Connections Pastor at Palm Coast Bible Church, which basically means I help people get more connected to God by helping them find and take the next step forward in their walk with God. I also help people to be more connected with each other and with their community so they can share the love of God in those places. You know, I don't like pictures of me. Even doing these videos is a challenge because, the problem that I have with them, they look too much like me. And the question I want to look at today is, how do we view ourselves? I want to do this by talking about a man. He was living in a time where there was a great infection across his whole country. He was afraid to go out of his house. He was barely getting by. He was just trying to get some food together for his family. Now, I'm not talking about 2020 and this world that we live now in and the situation that we're facing. I'm talking about a man who lived thousands of years ago. The infection that his country faced wasn't a virus like we're fighting, but it was an invading army that had come into his country, and he was afraid of even going out of his house. Here we find this story. This man, his name is Gideon, and we find it in the Old Testament book of Judges, chapter 6, and we're going to read verses 11 through 16. Gideon, the son of Joash, was threshing wheat at the bottom of a winepress to hide from the Midianites. The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "Mighty hero, the Lord is with you." "Sir," Gideon replied, "if the Lord is with us, why has all of this happened to us? And where are all the miracles our ancestors told us about? Didn't they say the Lord brought Israel up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and handed us over to the Midianites." Then the Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and rescue Israel from the Midianites. I am sending you." "But Lord," Gideon replied, "how can I rescue Israel? My clan is the weakest in the whole tribe of Manasseh, and I am the least in my whole family." The Lord said to him, "I will be with you, and you will destroy the Midianites as if you were fighting against but one man." Again, that's the Old Testament book of Judges, chapter 6, verses 11 through 16. Gideon saw himself as a fearful man under siege. God saw him as a mighty hero. Gideon saw himself as the weakest in the smallest tribe and the least in his family. God said, "Go in the strength you have, for I am sending you. I will be with you." God delights in using the weak, the foolish things. We read about this in the New Testament in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 26 through 29. It says there, "Remember, dear brothers and sisters, that few of you were wise in the world's eyes, or powerful, or wealthy when God called you. Instead, God chose the things the world considers foolish in order to shame those who are powerful. And God chose the things despised by the world, things counted as nothing at all, and used them to bring to nothing what the world considers important. As a result, no one can boast in the presence of God." God delights in using a person like Gideon, fearful, afraid, humble, and yet doing mighty things through him. Why? Because Gideon couldn't take the credit for it. God alone would get the glory for the victory. When people in the Old Testament saw a barren woman named Sarah, God saw the mother of nations. When people saw a poor young shepherd boy, God saw a mighty king in Israel. When people saw a poor prisoner called Joseph in an Egyptian jail, God saw the next powerful prime minister of Egypt that would deliver not only Egypt, but his own family from famine. You know, a lot of times we think of ourselves too highly, too much, but there are other times we think of ourselves too less, as unimportant. And God asks us to look at ourselves with sober-minded thinking, not too high, not too low. So as we go through this week, I want you to think about a mirror. And as you look at yourself in the mirror, think about who you see. And think about who God sees. This week, may we see ourselves as God sees us. Not as we think we are, but as he created us to be, to love, to serve him by loving and serving others. Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, we come to you. Sometimes we think too much of ourselves, and we ask that you humble us. Sometimes we don't think enough about who you created us to be, and we are fearful. Well, Lord, would you lift us up in those times? Lord, help us to see ourselves as you see us. You see the potential within us. You see who you gifted us and talented us and gave us abilities to be. So, Lord, as we face the trials of life, as we overcome the obstacles that come against us, may we do it not in the confidence of who we are, but in the confidence that you are with us, that you are sending us, that you will never leave us, that you will never forsake us. May we have a boldness and a confidence that comes from you, and may we go and do mighty things, not for our name's sake, but for your name's sake. And it is in your name that we do pray. The name above all other names, the name Jesus Christ. Amen. Thanks for spending these few moments with us, me today, and I hope that they encourage you. Go, every time you look at a mirror, think about, how does God see me? How does God want to use me? Look forward to talking with you again. Lord bless you. Bye-bye.